The following program was made possible thanks to the generous support of our Kickstarter backers.
Well, first Holmes was born, then he got fat, bald, and tired.
Sup, Holmes?
Beware your host, Jonathan Ho.
Thank you so much, Sinistar. Here we are with episode 102 of Sup Holmes and Dan and Jackie of Holy Wow in their cool New York City apartment with a guitar and some weights and another keyboard. Jeez, that's a lot of keyboards.
You can see the weights from there?
Say that again?
You can see the weights from where you're sitting?
I can see a green weight and a gray weight. And like a sword? A LARPing sword?
Oh, yeah, I think it's a Dwayne Reed sword. We just picked it up from Walgreens
for the cats
on a whim.
Oh, it looks fun.
Yeah.
And who plays the keyboard and the ukulele in amongst the two of you?
That's me, mostly, yeah.
Most of the instruments in here are Dan's, but I play the keyboard a little bit.
Yeah.
Huh, neato. Any thoughts of ever making a music game?
That's a good question. I tried once a while ago, but I just had too much trouble just with the technical aspect, just like syncing the beats to the actual gameplay.
Yeah.
And otherwise, not really. Actually, I just remembered one.
Yes.
I thought it'd be really fun to make a game that was like Punch-Out or like Super Punch-Out, except like everything is like choreographed with music. Because like if you remember Punch-Out, it's a very like rhythmic game anyways. It's almost like dancing in a way because it's like you dodge, dodge, punch, dodge, dodge, punch. And I thought that'd be really cool if it was also synced to a song, you know?
That'd be awesome. And
it'll never happen.
Well, you never know. You're young yet. You're young and filled with vim and vigor and potential. Anything can happen with Dan and Jackie of Holy Well Studios. So for those who don't know, you are probably most well known for Icarus Proudbottom Teaches Typing, which came out last year?
Yeah, last summer. Yeah, like last July, I think.
Pretty much exactly a year ago, yeah.
Wow, I mean like that. And I've seen it on all sorts of lists.
Oh,
I've seen it on Forbes lists. I've seen it on personal best of. Yes.
Send me that. 'Cause I'm not sure if I saw that list.
I'm pretty sure it was Forbes. People saying, "What a weird and wacky game!" Like the people who don't play a lot of video games. I've seen mainstream outlets cover it as kind of like, you may not think you like video games, but you'll get a heck of a lot of fun out of this, which is pretty neat. And likewise.
Yeah. That's one thing. That's actually one thing I like about it a lot is we have a lot of friends who don't really play video games, and we did like when we made like a little
play test. We invited them over, and all these people who didn't really play video games a lot enjoyed it because they all knew how to type, so they had a fun time just playing a typing game.
Yeah, like one of our friends' girlfriends like never plays games, but she beat almost the whole thing because it's just typing, and it's actually really fun like seeing someone who's never played video games like get all the way through a video game, you know, even if it's just our game. You know.
And only like a 20-minute game.
Yeah, 20 minutes, whatever.
But still, to get someone who doesn't normally identify as playing video games to sit down for 20 minutes is quite an achievement. For people who don't know, Icarus Proudbottom Teaches Typing is a free typing game.
Yeah.
But to me, it felt perfect for the post-Frog Fractions internet thinking. And we've had the creator of Frog Fractions on the show. Very nice guy. I don't know if you've met him before.
No, it seems cool. They're in Seattle or something, right? Or Washington?
I believe so.
Somewhere, yeah.
He's a very, very nice guy. Very surprised at his own success, as it seemed like you were as well with Icarus Proudbottom.
Yeah, it's always a surprise because we don't do, well, especially for that game and the first Icarus Proudbottom game, we haven't done like any publicity at all.
Yeah, we just
make the game and then just like go to sleep. So when people find out about it, we're like, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, Frog Fractions. It's funny you mention that because we made this game, and like immediately afterwards, people are like, "Oh, it's just like Frog Fractions," and I was like, "Frog what?"
Frog. We both loved it, and I definitely see a correlation.
It's one of those things where we finished this game, then I played Frog Fractions, and as I'm playing, I'm like, "Oh, it's just like our game, except a lot better." Oh well, but yeah.
But it speaks to this interesting phenomena where every kind of game is being made all the time.
Yeah.
And they don't always rise to the top, and for some reason, Frog Fractions and your game, I don't feel like your game rose to the top because of Frog Fractions. I feel like it rose to the top because that's what people wanted. That's what was missing for people is like a game that acknowledges that I used to play video games as a kid that were trying to force me and handhold me into something, and then totally let go of my hand and let me find out that the world could be a terrible place.
It's funny to hear the phrase like that's what people want, because it's like what people want is typing games built in Flash. That's what the world is trying to do.
Apparently so, because it's again Forbes scared, so you did something right. But for people who don't know, I've kind of graced over it. They may be guessing, but how would you describe Icarus Proudbottom Teaches Typing?
I'm trying to think. Well, it's a typing game.
And it has humor. If you know how to type without looking at the keys, it's for you.
Yeah, a basic synopsis is like it starts off as like a very like cutesy and like friendly and like kind of funny like typing game, but then it quickly like takes a turn for the dark, and then like it kind of spirals into this dark place in the span of like 20 minutes. Yeah, but it's mostly a comedy game. It's like the whole thing is pretty much just like a vehicle for jokes, pretty much. Yeah.
Which is very, it's so risky. Well, I don't want to undercut the game feel. The game feel is excellent.
Oh, thank you, yeah.
I wouldn't have played it if it weren't for the fact, I mean, as funny as it was, the fact that when you punch those keys,
it's really fun.
There's a little owl being like, you can do it! Like, this is awesome. I'm teaming up with the owl and punching things. But I'm typing and learning. Like, it tricked me into thinking I was being productive. Like, it legitimate me. And then it told me that I was actually falling for a grander scheme, which was hilarious. So how did you come up with this idea? What motivated you to make it in the first place?
Dan had this idea for a silly typing game for a while.
Yeah.
And he wanted to make just like this little silly typing thing that would have lasted like 5 minutes. And then we're part of the Something Awful forums, and they have this game dev challenge where for a month you have to create a game based on one of their themes.
Yeah.
And last year the theme was, what was it? Subversive
edutainment.
Yeah. And we thought, hey, this would be perfect because it would be a typing game that does not teach you how to type at all.
So like we had this idea, and then like the competition came up, and it was like we have to make this game because we didn't want to join the competition because we were working on Icarus Proudbottom Starship Captain at that time. We'd been working on that for a long time. So we weren't going to join the competition, but like the theme was just so perfect because like, we already had this idea for like the educational game that was subversive. Yeah,
it was perfect.
So then we took a month off to like make this game, the typing game, and then like it ended up like consuming like a year of our life because it became like way more popular than we thought it would. You know?
Yeah, or maybe even one or two. It's interesting how we have so little control over what gets popular and what doesn't, that we regardless of how hard we work on something, regardless if you promote it or not. If that's what people are hungry for, the greater social consciousness has a space in it where it needs to be filled with Icarus Proudbottom Teaches Typing, then you're famous for that.
It got actually too popular too fast. There must be people in the press who actually follow the game development thread on the Something Awful forums because we submitted it at midnight. And then when we woke up, I think like Indie Static had already done an article.
Yeah.
And I think Destructoid maybe had done.
I don't know, but we got so much press so fast. And it was nuts because we couldn't alter the game at all per the rules of the Game Dev Challenge. We had to wait till judging was complete.
Yeah. There's a month of judging, so like we couldn't edit the game.
Yeah.
So like some people found some bugs and like some international users had some problems, but like for this month of judging we couldn't touch the game. It was a little frustrating because like it was blowing up in popularity and there were these issues we'd like to fix and some things we'd like to tweak but we couldn't for like the first month, you know.
Yeah.
And like that's when it got all the press and stuff. Yeah.
So not only did it become bigger and you're more well known for it than maybe you wanted, but you were also kind of shackled by the fact that it was suddenly. And you could be right. It could be that somebody from Destructoid was following it, but it might just be that Twitter just makes everybody know everything within like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it could be too.
I think I was awake when I think I was had insomnia or something that night. I remember like at 12:30, it was just like, hey, you think things are funny? Play this game.
Yeah.
And I saw how many retweets it had. It was like 300. It was like,
that was
must be good.
That was the night of the thing?
I think. Well, you know, it's hard to say. I know it was late at night. I'm not sure which night, but it was. It could have been that very night. And it's usually when things just happen because after that, it's old, and people are like, oh, I don't want to talk about something old because people might think I'm not an elite internet user that's only talking about the newest possible thing.
Yeah, it moves so fast. Yeah.
It is an interesting word. And Icarus Proudbottom, Starship Captain, was something you were working on prior to that.
We've been working on that forever, like for a long ass time.
For a really long time.
Way too long.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, we work on games in our free time because we hold down like full-time jobs.
Yeah.
So in our free time, we've just been like sort of working on it slowly, little by little. I don't know. It's a game that we both really have been wanting to make forever because I'm a huge Star Trek fan and I've made him into a huge Star Trek fan. So it's just something we've been working on forever, and we just keep stopping to work on other things, like Teach Us Typing, which was totally worth it.
Yeah, Starship Captain has a really long history. Like, we started off, well, did you play the first Icarus Proudbottom game, Icarus Proudbottom and the Curse of the Chocolate Fountain?
No, but you told me about it. I should have played it. But tell us about that.
Okay, we'll go all the way back.
Let's do it.
So again, we really have to thank the Something Awful forums for like this whole thing, because the first Icarus Proudbottom game we made for the exact same competition that we did the typing game for.
But that was like 4 years ago, 2010.
Yeah, it was like 2 years before typing. We made the first Icarus Proudbottom game, and again, like this is like a 1 month competition. You have like 30 days to make a game. And that the theme of that competition was there had to be some like limitation to the gameplay. It was like you can't do something.
Right.
You know?
You can't blank something, like you can't.
Yeah. So that game. So like some people made games where like you can't. One guy made a game where you can't walk. You have to like use your arms to drag yourself around. I don't know. But we made a game where the guy can't stop pooping. And he's like flying. He's flying through the air like a plane.
Right.
Like powered by his poops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it like a lot of? Is it a physics-based game with a lot of like poop physics and flying physics?
Not as much poop physics as you think. It's more like Galaga.
Yeah.
It's like no, not Galaga. What's the game? Gradius. It's like Gradius.
Oh, cool. Gradius is a great game. Sure.
Except instead of a spaceship, it's a guy who's pooping.
Is it Icarus?
Yeah, it's Icarus. Yeah.
Ah, I love Icarus.
And that's where the name came from. Yeah.
I get it. Because does he see his affliction as, in fact, a boon? Is it a benefit that he has the ability to propel with his poop?
Yeah. So we were making the game. We didn't have that game. We didn't have a name for the character. And I thought it'd be funny to name him Icarus because, you know, he's like, he flew too close to the sun, you know, on wings of poop.
And that's how he meets Jerry, because Jerry is this American Indian spirit animal, and he sees Icarus shooting through the air, and he's like, wow, I have never seen someone fly as fast as you. So he like joins up with him.
So Icarus because he's flying.
Right.
And then I thought Proudbottom was just a funny name for a guy who's just like can't stop shitting.
Sure, and it's just in terms of the sounds next to each other. It sounds majestic, and yet it's bottom, which is not. Usually, but why can't it be? Why do we live in this poop-fearing culture? If I knew a man who could fly with his poops, I'd high-five him immediately. I'd stay away from the poops, probably, but I would still be impressed.
We have 2 cats, so we don't fear poops anymore. We live in a world of poop.
Yeah, me too. I walk a dog twice a day.
Awesome.
Just, you know,
what kind of dog?
Thing. We think she's maybe like a part King Charles. She likes to herd people.
That's funny.
And cats. So we have no idea. She's Dachshund legs, though. A little.
That's cute.
Yeah, she's
we have 2 cats, but like we'd love to have a dog.
Yeah.
Our lifestyle can't support it because we both work 9 to 5. So you know, it would just be like alone all day. But.
Yeah.
Especially, and you guys are located out of New York City, is that right?
Yeah, we're in Brooklyn. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a tiny apartment, and that'd be rough. Maybe someday.
Sure. Have you always been in New York?
I grew out just outside of New York City, but for the most part, I've always been here.
Gotcha.
I grew up in Connecticut.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Woo. No, I have no strong feelings about Connecticut, but yeah.
Sure.
You're in Boston, right? We're talking.
We're at the Boston area. We see Connecticut as the place you have to be in for an hour and a half when you want to go to New York. So.
Connecticut is like the Nebraska of the Northeast, where it's just like this obstacle for driving you just have to go through.
Yeah.
So it's very relaxing, but it is kind of
No.
it's like I want to take a weight mate for it and just sleep through it. Well, my
Headphone problem.
Falling out. So when did you get started in the game making? The both of you. We can start with Dan and then go to Jackie.
Well, he's been making games forever.
Yeah.
Once we got together, I started helping him out, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, I don't even know when you
Yeah,
started.
I've been making games since I was like a little kid.
Huh.
Like in DOS with like I think the first games I made were like QBasic. You know QBasic.
I'm not sure. It sounds
doesn't
familiar,
matter.
but I don't know. Well, actually, a lot of people watch the show are big coding people, so you might want to tell them.
Yeah.
I'm curious about what it is.
It's just like this really simple programming language from a million years ago. I used to like make text adventure games in QBasic when I was like a kid, probably like in 5th grade or 6th grade or something. I don't know. They were horrible. They weren't any good.
What?
I've yet to make a good game. Someday. But that's when I started.
What were you? What kind of computer were you using at that time?
It's probably like some 46 thing. I don't remember. I have to give credit to my dad for that because it's funny. My dad didn't use I don't remember him using computers a lot, but we always had computers. Like he always bought computers. So like we had 46 early and like early Pentiums and stuff.
Gotcha.
But it was old.
But not going as far back as like Apple II and Commodore 64.
No, not that far.
I'm guessing you like in your mid-20s.
I'm gonna be turning 30 in like a few weeks.
Really?
And she's 1 year younger. Yeah.
You guys are holding up great.
Just because I just shaved. I shaved up before this. Yeah.
So
I can't grow a beard. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can like immediately. I'm like Homer Simpson, Fred Flintstone. It's just like they're just always 5 o'clock shadow.
I would like some stubble. I don't want a beard, but I'd like some stubble.
You'd be surprised.
I get the thing here and then like the little patch here, and then like some hairs like in the middle of my cheeks.
Oh, werewolf hairs. Why? Why, God, why?
Genetics. I don't know.
Yeah, and with me, you hopefully can't tell, but I've got like weird eyebrow hairs that are deciding to like hook around and like just like turn me into.
Full, yeah.
Yeah. If I were a Asian martial artist with white hair, fly and stuff, then it would be great. I love the Kung Fu movie eyebrows, but
you can bleach them.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea. I wonder if that would be painful. Most likely it would be.
If the game journalism thing doesn't work out, you can always bleach your eyebrows. Open up a Kung Fu school.
If only that were true. So you
We're way off track. What happened?
when did you start making games and then showing them to people?
Well, okay, so the QBasic games I tried to show to people, but back then, like, all you could do is load it onto a floppy disk. I remember, like, bringing the floppy disk to school. It's like giving it to my friends. Like, here you go.
And it fit on the floppy
it's
disk.
like you have to copy these files and then run this command in DOS and then do this and then do this and then you can play it. But I'd say the first Icarus Proudbottom game is actually the first one that got a bit of, like, we really tried to push it out to the public. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Although, before that,
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, before that, like I said, I would just, like, bring the games to my friends at school, pretty much. Like, I made games my entire childhood. Started off with QBasic, like I said. I did a lot of modding for old first-person shooters. I used to, like, make levels for Doom and, like, change the graphics for Doom and Duke Nukem 3D.
Yeah, and you would share it with your friends.
Yeah. Same thing, though. We just bring, like, a floppy disk to school and be like, check out my Doom mod.
And how do they go over at school? Did you find a lot of people saying that like they were impressed, or they had a lot of fun, or?
It's just like me and like 2 friends. There's like an audience of 2 people.
And were they making games too? The 2 other friends?
They would they would do the same stuff. They would like do Doom mods. Although I say mod, which makes it sound creative, but I think like all I did was like one mod. I replaced the pink demon in Doom with Dogbert from Dilbert. Like that was it. It's just like if you see a pink demon, it'll look like Dogbert. And then I did a South Park one where like Cartman was the pink demon and the sound effects were changed. So I don't know.
That's it. Well,
Yeah.
a lot of the people watching the show,
Yeah, I guess
what
so.
I'm guessing anyway. Some of them are far along in game development. A lot of them are just starting, and they're wondering like, what can I do to? It's not so much about like, how can I learn, but how can I engage my mind in a process where I'm going to be emotionally rewarded for even trying to do this, like, seemingly impossible thing.
Yeah.
And they forget that just doing, or maybe not forget, maybe they were never told, like, if you just download some Mario sprites and edit them,
Yeah.
and, like, turn them into Dogbert, you might have the best afternoon you've ever had. And then that'll grow into something. Yeah, start with Dogbert. He's a simple, adorable little guy. And then from there, you or get hungrier for how can I expand on this, how can I expand on this. Like, to start the tear in the sweater that will eventually unravel all the things that are holding people back from trying to make games. Sometimes they can't find that tear, and these are really good suggestions, actually.
I think the internet helps a lot, too. Because when I started, like I just said, like, there was no way to distribute these games. You just...
Or look for help at it either, find how-tos. But now you go on YouTube, you search for anything and how to do it, and you'll find it.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone hates Flash, but I think Flash is actually really great for making some simple games and breaking into some scenes, because it's just like, it's perfect for the web.
It's so accessible.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely has problems, and for certain things it's terrible.
Yeah,
but definitely for little, web games, it's so great.
Yeah, all the Icarus Proudbottom games are built in Flash, which, like, which, I mean, like, people hate Flash, but it works for simple games on the web that are 2D, and it's everyone can, well, not an iPad, but, like, everyone on the desktop can view it.
Sure.
It's easy to learn, yeah.
Absolutely. Why do you think it is that people, I don't know where emotion comes in when people, like, hate
Flash.
And you're right. It's not like I would not prefer Flash, or oh, Flash isn't, like, I don't go to the store and be like, I hate that yogurt. It's not right for my life. Exactly. But people get emotional and personal towards programming languages, towards certain vehicles to deliver video games to them. And Flash is one of them that has, like, garnered a lot of disrespect and dislike. Why do you think that might be?
Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs' fault. No, it's not Steve Jobs' fault, but that is when, like, the extreme Flash backlash happened, was, like, when he released the iPhone, like the iPad, and he was like, no Flash. And that was the first time an operating system was like, no Flash.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what ended up killing Flash, I think, was that. I mean, he was right. Like, he was right. Flash should die, but yeah.
Huh.
That was just the start.
I thought I was always under the impression that they wanted to kill Flash because they wanted to eventually. I don't know if they did. I haven't followed Apple well enough. Whether to replace Flash with their own thing, like to own the programming languages, to own the delivery of information. The methods of delivery is to eventually own everything, as we've seen from Windows and whatnot. So, Flash has always been good to me. Binding of Isaac, wonderful game.
It has
totally built in Flash.
I guess it has security issues. Where, like, I don't know.
Like vulnerabilities, a lot of viruses to get through somehow.
And that was the excuse they gave with iOS to kill Flash. I remember, like, they were talking about how insecure it was, and also I think it's just a performance hog too, kind of.
Yeah,
and that's true. And they were terrified that people would, like, get the brand new iPhones and, like, load a website and it'd be all bad frame rate because that makes it look bad,
Yeah. Huh. That makes a lot more sense. Thanks for filling in the blanks on there. So Dan has been making games for a while, and with the first Icarus Proudbottom game, that's when he was kind of showing the world. And Jackie, did you work on the first Icarus Proudbottom game as well?
I did, yeah. No, it was, we started on some early games before that, but never finished them together.
Which ones?
But,
I don't remember.
Star Gods.
That was
started on that years before.
So that is Star Dads?
Star Gods.
Oh, Star Gods.
Star Dads sounds
I like
awesome.
Star Dads. That's great. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, but
that'd be awesome.
No, I was never really in the gaming, or I played games like my whole life, but I never made them until Dan and I got together.
Yeah.
But we both went to.
Divvy up the work duties? Do you both do a little bit of everything, or Dan, do you focus more on one thing and Jackie focus more on another?
Pretty much, Dan is like the head honcho between the two of us.
I don't want to say it.
Well, no, he does like the coding. I hate coding. I can do a little bit in Flash, but I kind of hate it. And I do most of like the design, but Dan helps on the design, and I don't know.
I say I do like a lot of the coding, a lot of the writing. And I like to do a lot of small art, like art that takes no time. She does like all the big art, which actually is like a lifesaver, because like like if you make like a whole background image, that could take forever just because it's like such a large thing. So she does like 100% of that stuff, especially.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to focus on that too, rather than like go back and forth or something. But
and she also tells me which of my ideas are horrible. Because without her, these games would be just like ridiculous, unplayable, like surreal, in a bad way. Like,
well,
I think, yeah.
It is interesting how team-ups like this, Trey Parker and Matt Stone is, for whatever reason, that's who you immediately reminded me of, where one kind of takes the lead, but the other one is still indispensable to the way ideas are generated, because without Matt Stone to bounce ideas off of, Trey Parker, who would he be? It's his friendship. It's the what's in between them, at least from what they say, that creates what they make. And with just one of them, it would be completely different. You know, Trey Parker wouldn't have the emotions of excitement to talk to his friend, and then because it's really what he wants to do is have fun with his friend, and then it just so happens that everybody else gets to watch a TV show, see a musical afterwards. And it sounds like that's kind of how it was for you, Dan. Did you find that when you started making games with Jackie, it changed the way you felt about making games, changed what you wanted to put into games?
That's a loaded question. No, not really. No, I'd say so, yeah. Well, when the games I made with Jackie was the first games that I made like as a team, I'd say. Before then, I never really collaborated with anyone on game stuff at all. I would just like make something myself and put it out there. And yeah, I mean, I think the second you join a team, I mean, that might be why the first Icarus Proudbottom game is the first one that got any sort of recognition, is because as soon as you join a team, it becomes a little more serious. It's like you can no longer just like make a stupid little game that you don't care about, and it's like, whatever, it's average, throw it out there, you know. It's like when you're in a team, there's more of, you know, because there's another person there. It's like you want to actually make
more accountability, more sense that, you know, this isn't just in my own head and it doesn't really exist. When you know someone else is seeing it, it's like, this is an actual thing, and it has to be good.
Yeah, it's like there's a little more responsibility, you know, like you don't want to let someone else down, you know. Well, if the game is horrible, and that's two people who it reflects upon, you know. So I guess I'd say that's the big difference. I don't know.
I find that there's so much more motivation, because if I see him working, I'm like, oh wow, okay, I better work too, you know.
Yeah, if one of us is like on the couch playing Dark Souls, and the other one is working, that increases the chance that both of us will work. Whereas if it's one person and he's on the couch playing Dark Souls, he can continue to play Dark Souls and there's no spark to make him stop playing Dark Souls. Yeah.
And though it hasn't been explicitly stated, I'm guessing that there was some romantic relationship between
us and Dark Souls. It's a really good game. Super good.
Oh, yeah, no, we love
fun of it.
I mean, no, we've been together for what, like 6 years?
Yeah, I've been dating for a long time. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's awesome. For some people, a lot of people I know, it is kind of living the dream to team up with somebody who you both are romantic partners with, who also like accepts your quotes weird hobby of video games as well, and you sharing it together and like become semi-internet famous in the process. That's pretty incredible.
It's definitely fun. I mean, it's also a lot of work though, because we both have. She already mentioned, but we both have full-time jobs.
Sure.
And like, you know, a lot of times we come home from work, we're already tired, but then we're like, we should work on the game. So it's almost like a second job.
Yeah.
I mean, it is lots of fun. I don't mean to like, spin it to be negative.
Yeah, that's definitely enjoyable. Something to do, a hobby. But.
Yeah. Although now that we've been doing it for a few years, making games, I mean, like we fantasize about the life where like we don't make games at all. We could just watch Netflix and like just watch Netflix with no guilt.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny when you get out of. I know somewhat about psychology, so I warn you, if you don't like psychology, just stop me now.
No, go for it.
I hate psychology. No, that's fine.
You never know. I meet people who I'll be like, it turns out you have diabetes. You have to check your blood sugar. They're like, I hate diabetes. It's a myth. Forget it. Give me those cookies. So I never know what to expect. I wouldn't blame you for hating psychology. It sounds like getting into your 30s, you're out of the stage or exiting the stage where the primary focus is about intimacy versus isolation.
Yeah.
Getting into the generativity versus stagnation stage where your brain is all about like, I need to produce and create, or else, you know, I'll look back on my adulthood and think that I totally failed because I missed my opportunities, and now I'm going to die, and I never got to make Icarus Proudbottom starship captain. So, yeah, tends to be people entering their 30s. They're less about going out and meeting people and going to parties and whatnot. They're more about just like making the thing. Yeah. But it's very difficult to take on that responsibility, and when the thing doesn't go well, it feels like your whole life maybe sucks and you totally failed. Trust me, I know how that feels. Yeah. I've done quite a bit of stuff. I've been in that stage for a little bit now. And when I've done things that people have just hated, thousands of people have been like, "You're the worst person ever."
Can you give an example?
Yeah, sure.
I don't want to think of your...
I did a cartoon called Teenage Pokemon.
Yeah.
Some people liked it. Yeah. It was, you know, it was me alone in a room with a sheet over my head. Like, I can do voices maybe, and then I was lucky enough to have animators who were like, sure, I'll animate whatever you do. So, you know, it wasn't like a highly produced, deeply thought out thing. Some people liked it. Other people completely hated it because they compared it to much better cartoons like Eagle Raptor and whatnot, and that's what they wanted, and then you get that, blah, blah, blah. But I'm sorry, you were going to say?
No, I was going to say, like,
well, I thought the production values were great.
Oh, thanks. Well, thanks to the animators. Very lucky to have them on board.
By the way, it's great.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. This Jim
it's a Ditto.
Totally forgot I was wearing that. That's
love it. Yeah.
This seems like a big Teenage Pokemon commercial now instead of talking about Holy Wow.
When people,
so
when people hate something on the internet, you can't let it get you too down because everybody hates everything on the internet.
Yep.
Like, there's nothing... I don't think there's anything that doesn't have haters on the internet. Like everything is haters. And also, I mean, like, one problem with the internet, too, is I feel like people expect like professional production values from everything.
Yeah, sure.
Even if it's just, like, one person goofing off in their spare time. Like, so, you know. Yes.
So many of the comment creators want to be content creators.
Yeah.
But instead, all they can be is critics, and they are critics, and it's valid criticism some of the time. Certainly, I've had some very noble attempts to try to explain to me why they didn't like a thing, and that's always helpful. But, you know, it makes people feel empowered. People go on the internet because they want to feel powerful a lot of the time. You can do things on the internet you're not allowed to do in real life, like tell someone that they are the biggest jackass on the planet because their jokes weren't good enough for them that day. So, yes. And I wanted to turn it back to you, because I've talked about myself way too much. Icarus Proudbottom, Starship Captain, you've been working on it for a while. Tell us about the impetus of starting on that, and we'll also eventually, hopefully, get to the fact that it is on Kickstarter, and I'm still hopeful personally.
Thanks. So trying to think back when it started. I think, so first we made the first Icarus Proudbottom game, with the pooping one.
Right.
And then I think after that, we were making the Star Gods game we're talking about.
Yeah.
And Star Gods was going to be like a kind of Metroidvania game in space.
Kind of like your ship gets upgrades and you bump into different enemies, characters.
Yeah. Pretty much like Asteroids meets like a Metroidvania, where like you're flying a little ship around. We worked on that a little bit, and then we kind of like we both were watching a lot of Star Trek. Thanks to Netflix.
I was trying to get him into
What generation of Star Trek did he start?
Oh, all of them. I mean, my favorite's the original series, but now with Netflix, they're all on there, so we watched all of them too.
Yeah, she's a huge. You don't understand. She's a huge like original series Star Trek nerd.
That is such a rare thing in this modern day and age. Yes.
Not really anymore with like the new.
I don't know.
The new horrible movies.
I know a lot of people who like Next Generation, but I actually don't know a lot of people who legitimately love the original series.
Yeah, as do I. I know people that love the new movies and Next Generation, and smatterings of people who like everything else. Very few people that hold the original Kirk Nimoy stuff in high esteem. I love it. But it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, though.
Absolutely. Like, super campy. But, like, sometimes, like, the writing is just amazing.
Yeah.
But there is definitely, like, a contrast between, like, amazing episodes and just real bad, intolerable, like, episodes.
Yeah.
But I could go on and on about Star Trek. I don't want to...
But, so at some point we had some idea where... So we're making Star Gods, and then we had some idea where... Star Gods had kind of like arcade controls, kind of simple, just like, use arrow keys to control the ship, and you shoot with the space bar or whatever. But then we had the idea to make a game where it's like Star Trek, where you have to like issue commands to your crew to move the ship. So the whole thing becomes like this crew, and you're like shouting out all these commands, and like you're shouting them in the right order you want. So like you're telling them to turn the ship, you're telling them to power up the shield, you're telling them to do this. And we liked that idea enough that we killed Star Gods, and we decided to like turn Star Gods into this new game.
Yeah.
And back then it wasn't going to be Icarus Proudbottom. It wasn't going to be part of the Icarus Proudbottom universe either. That idea came later. Because I remember we reached a point where we're like, wait a minute, what if we use
that we've already created?
It's like, what if we use Icarus Proudbottom in this next game?
Yeah.
And that was kind of where we came up with the idea to make Icarus Proudbottom this character that we can shove into like any sort of game we want in the future. Like so then we started to build that game. We spent a while on it.
Yeah. Changed the graphic styles a few times, because we first had it pixelated, but then we realized there was a few limitations that would have been troublesome, so then we changed it to vector.
Yeah.
And you even changed the coding a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it started off in the 8-bit style, but what was driving me crazy was we're trying to design like the emblem, like the Star Trek emblem thing.
Sure.
Like it's on their uniform.
But with like tiny pixels, the amount of space we had would have been like 3 pixels by 3 pixels, and like you really can't design anything very distinct with that. But it's just limited.
I was going crazy like trying to like certain design elements. Like I was going crazy trying to do. And then I kind of realized too that nothing about the game, like the theme of the game, has to do with like old video games. So like thematically, the 8-bit graphics didn't fit. And I think like 8-bit graphics work amazingly if the game somehow references old games, 8-bit games.
Sure.
But this wasn't going to reference old games at all. So I started to realize like why are we shackling ourselves to 8-bit graphics?
Yeah.
So
it made sense.
And
we
so
redesigned Jerry in vectors, and we realized he was like 100 times more adorable that way.
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, let's just trash what we did in the pixelated style and go full vector.
Yeah, I think at work, when I was at work, like I sketched out Jerry like in a cartoon style, like on like a notebook or something, and I liked the way it looked so much, like compared to the 8-bit version. Like
Jerry, for people who don't know, Jerry is...
sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Just explain Jerry to the world real quick.
Jerry is like an American Indian spirit animal. He's like an orange owl.
Yeah.
He's like a little round orange owl, basically. Yeah. And he accompanies Icarus in his journeys.
Well, because it's a spirit animal.
Yeah. They met
extremely supportive. And in Starship Captain, he takes on the mantle of first mate.
Yeah, he's basically Spock.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. And,
in Icarus Proudbottom, Starship Captain, Icarus Proudbottom, formerly pooping across the universe and being very good at typing, is now Captain Kirk. How did that come to be?
Well, actually, at the end of the first game, the pooping game, not to spoil it too much, but he does end up in space with Jerry, and he has to explore the galaxy while, shooting out, propelled by his poops into space. So
the first game ends like they're in space and he's like exploring the universe with an owl. It's like that sounds perfect. And then like the credits roll.
Yeah.
And so then I thought it was just funny if just like without explanation, at some point in the future he's now like a starship captain in space with the owl.
Like he was so good at exploring space with his own poop that they gave him a ship and he said, stop pooping, not necessary anymore.
I like the ambiguity of it. It's like now he's a starship captain. It's like, how did that happen? It's like, maybe we'll explain it someday. But
maybe not.
It's fun to just have like the gap, and then he's just doing something totally different. Yeah.
Oh, sure. It was one of my favorite things about the old Star Wars movies. I don't know, Jackie, if you are in the camp that dislikes Star Wars because
I enjoy them. I definitely enjoy.
You're okay with them?
I don't think they're as good.
Star Trek. It's kind of rotten. Other than the fact that they have star in the name and are in space. I mean, they're
very different. They really play on different themes for sure.
I've never understood why the two get compared so much, because they really are totally different.
Yeah.
One is just like a political, mostly a TV series. It has lots of movies, but the movies are whatever. Sure. And then the other one's like not kind of the prequels. Prequels don't exist. And Star Wars is 3 movies. And they're like fun adventure films,
Yeah. There's the hero's journey versus like space politics and life lessons about how to be a decent human being in the future.
Right. Yeah.
And is that what Icarus Proudbottom is going to be? Starship Captain. Is it going to be about how to be a good person in the future with Jerry, the owl?
Oh, jeez. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
we have the authority to to say what a good person is. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But maybe he'll explore it a little bit. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I don't know. But taking a second to talk about Star Trek video games, there's been an enormous amount. I don't know if you know of any of them, but throughout the years, there's been tons of like focusing on different kinds, like sort of like adventure games. There's been like even like sort of space simulator ones where it's more actiony. And I've played a lot ever since I was a kid. I loved like Starfleet Academy. It was great. But none of them really felt like a Star Trek game, or like you're communicating with your crew. There were a few that sort of touched on it, but I feel like they're really missing out on really having like focusing on the communication aspect, and that's what we really wanted to do with Starship Captain.
Yeah, there's like especially if you watch a TV show and then play the games,
it's all just
it's totally different.
You know, talking between each other, solving problems.
Yeah.
Not just like a shoot 'em up in space.
There are games like Faster Than Light. You played FTL, Faster Than Light?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh,
it's great.
It. Yeah.
But like people call that like a Star Trek game. But like the feel of it, it's more like a sim, like action game. It doesn't have at all the feel of the TV show where, like it's people, it's mostly just like characters you enjoy talking to each other and interacting,
Well, a lot of people said that Mass Effect was as close as we've gotten because it had so many conversation trees. But for me, I'm not the biggest Mass Effect fan. Nothing against the series, but it just didn't capture my imagination. And part of that is because those dialogue trees just felt very kind of flat and artificial to me. Like I felt like I knew exactly what they were all going to say, and I felt like they'd kind of seen the script in my head. It's probably because I'm old and I've watched a lot of sci-fi already, so I was kind of jaded to it. But the idea that you're pitching to me and everyone watching of like how would it feel to really have these dynamic interactions with your crew and having to communicate to them in the most effective way, prioritize to them what to worry about and to who, say what to who, when. It'd be pretty exciting and potentially really funny because I think we all know what it's like to try to communicate to somebody and it doesn't come out the way you planned and you have unforeseen consequences based on the inability to say exactly what you meant. Often hilarious. I don't know if you've played Super Flirt Off before.
No, I haven't heard of it.
I'm going to have to send you a link to Super Flirt Off. We had them on Sup Holmes 2 years ago, one of the earlier episodes. It's
I like it in a game with Super at the beginning. It's great,
Absolutely, and they made it for free. It's a free Flash game as far as I know. And
Flash.
Flash. It's not bad.
Ooh, sounds great. And that's Super, and it's made in Flash.
You're at a party, and you're talking to somebody, but you have to form the flirtation that you give to them in real time, word by word. And there's a clock ticking the whole time, so you have to like find the what out of all these words that are just like in your brain, like Batman, hamburger, do you love me, and then what? You find what, and then you click on do you like to do, and they're like, that's a weird question. And at best they don't hate you, and at worst you get drunk and just end up like saying blarg, I got a batarang. Let's do it. Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, it sounds like it plays off like the those kind of fun games that, like the awkwardness is part of the fun.
Exactly.
Like like that QWOP, QWOP.
Sure.
Like, the fun is in just like trying your best and doing it horribly. Yeah.
Well, I'd imagine when you don't have a ton of money, and Bennett Foddy, who made QWOP, he doesn't have a ton of money. I believe he's a college professor, and the guys who made Super Flirt Off, they can't, make something with huge budget that makes you feel like, oh, you're a power fantasy super cool guy, nothing that's going to compete with, it's put up by AAA, but they can do awkward and bumbling. Because that's what, a smaller budget allows for. So
games are always really fun when there's some element where you feel like you're not in control. Like I feel like a lot of games benefit from like some element of like you can't be not in control completely, but like if there's some like random element that like messes up your control, that's when it gets like really fun. I feel like some chaotic element,
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like that plays off.
And I felt that because I'm bad at typing. Like unless you're really good, unless you're really good at typing, you're going to feel that when you play Icarus Proudbottom Teaches Typing. Just one little bumble. Oh, I came very close.
Okay.
I'm bad enough
Yeah.
at typing that I was actually like too slow at typing to win.
That's one thing that bugs me. Like, we made the game, we had 30 days to make it.
Yeah.
It was like 1 month. So it was pretty rushed. Like, you know, in retrospect, like, if we could go back, I would really love to do some adaptive difficulty thing. Because it does kind of bother me that, like, people who aren't good at typing just probably won't be able to beat it. You know, that bothers me.
I could get better at typing. I mean, it's kind of and it is one of those things where I know it's always there, and I return to it all the time anyway, and I tell other people about it. Like, if you were to say it's going off the market, forget it, then I would like make sure I beat it tonight and spend 8 hours on it if I had to.
You watch people beat it on YouTube.
What's that?
Just watch people beat it on YouTube.
Oh, I can't do that. I need to experience it for myself.
Okay,
The way it was intended. And you made that co-op competitive version for that party where we met in real life in New York State not that long ago. That was really cool. Have you released that out to the world?
Nope.
Not yet, but we have plans to.
Oh, really?
You're like one of like 50 people who have seen it in real life, basically. So Destructoid did this event in Greenpoint in Brooklyn, and it was like this indie arcade thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we reached out to them and asked, like, you know, do you want us to bring our typing game? They said okay. And then that was like 2 weeks before the event. So like in 2 weeks, we like threw together as fast as possible this multiplayer version of this typing game, and that's what you played. Yeah.
Yep.
But that
it has like 2 keyboards
Yeah.
and 2 people playing at the same time. You know, in this multiplayer thing. I'm not sure if there are any other multiplayer typing games. I mean, maybe there are. Maybe this is a first.
Typing of the Dead, you could do Typing of the Dead.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you could.
Forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah.
But still, to be in the same class as Typing of the Dead, I think, is something most of us could only hope to
Yeah.
be in.
I love Typing of the Dead. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, Typing
Yeah.
of the Dead is great.
From the very like while we're making the first Icarus Proudbottom teaches typing, like I would just say like it would be awesome to make some 2-player thing where there's like 2 keyboards, people are typing as fast as possible. So like much like how we did the typing game because the theme of the competition was so perfect, the edutainment theme was perfect, so we decided to pick the game. Same thing with the Destructoid event. Like we said, oh, we have this opportunity to make an arcade version, so let's do it in 2 weeks. You know.
Wow.
We can't miss
And
it
there
out.
was a lot of new aspects to it. It wasn't just, Icarus Proudbottom teaches typing and another keyboard. You set up some like Pong-like competitive mode where you had to get it in really quick, and then you had the part where the adorable monsters who you think I better kill them because they look kind of like the way cavities are represented in cartoons for toothpaste. So those look evil. I'm going to type them, and then of course you find out that you are basically a slaughterer of innocent beings after that.
We're going to release it eventually. It's just the version you played had just 2 minigames because that's all we had time for because we had like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We had 2 weeks and we had to travel for a wedding for like a long weekend.
Sure.
So it was really down to the wire.
But we'd like to make more mini games, sort of, so people have more of an option and it takes more time than like 8 minutes.
I would like to have like 5 or 4 mini games that have it so like it spins a wheel and like it's random mini games, and so it's different every time.
Yeah.
But so it'll come. We'll release it. Yeah. But,
I eagerly await playing it again. We should talk a little bit. I am curious. I didn't get into it enough. I know that Star Trek was formative for Jackie in a lot of ways in general, but games or other things that inspired you to think like, yeah, I want to create this kind of stuff. I want to be one of the people who makes things. What are some of the things that influenced you?
Sorry, Jackie.
Either way. Either of you. Yeah. Video games, other stuffs.
I don't know. I mean, I've been playing games ever since I could get my hands on them as a kid. I remember I begged my parents for like a Super Nintendo and a Nintendo, and eventually I got a Super Nintendo.
And who did you play them with? With your family? With friends?
Oh, no, this is a sad story. I was an only child. I played them by myself. Occasionally, if I could get a friend to play with me, but most of my friends were not fully into it.
Sure.
I know I was a single player for a really long time.
A lot of us were.
Until games went online, and that was a magical time because multiplayer was possible. I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way.
She was really good at Halo 2 back in the day.
Game's hard. A lot of people think too hard. I know a lot of Halo complainers that say there's too many exploits.
I hear things from both ends that it's like there's like aim control happening, and I don't know. It's just a fun game. I had a really fun time just having like the team aspect of it. 'Cause I played with like a team of like random internet people who we played together almost every night. Big dork. Even in college, I would play with these guys, and my roommates would be like, "What are you doing? Playing Halo again?"
Well, when we went to college, that was like an interesting time because that was back when like high-speed internet wasn't everywhere, but yet at college it was incredible.
Yes.
Right.
I guess kids nowadays don't have that experience. They go to college and it's the same. But like I went from like 6K and going to college and it's like the incredible internet. It's like, what? It's crazy. Yeah.
And I think it changed the way people thought about who plays video games. Jackie, it sounds like you liked them for a long time, but then all of a sudden you're finding out there's a world of people that you actually enjoy spending time with who are also doing a lot of using a lot of their time just for video games. Yeah, changed the kind of social class who was involved with video games. Just about every college kid played them.
Yeah, but to answer your question about like what I guess inspired me to make games, it was mostly Dan because I went to school for design. The program was interactive digital design, and they had some. I don't even know if they did have a game class, but I mean it touched on everything, but not really games. Some 3D design. Yeah. And I don't know, I never really thought of it because I hated to code. I really did. So I'm like, I don't know. It would be fun to make video games. I'd love to design them, but like I wouldn't want to touch the code. And it's great that I have Dan now.
It's hard to break into the coding aspect of games. Because I mean, even the simplest game, it's hard to tell until you start to make games. It's really hard to tell what kind of games would be difficult to make, what kind of games would be easy to make. You know, people think of Mario as simple, but like platformers are still difficult to make just because of just like the way the math works and the physics work.
Yeah, getting the jumping really.
Getting the jumping to feel good, and so it's tough. It's really hard to get started. I think like the first so I started with QBasic, but then like I used this program called Click and Play when I was I think like in middle school or high school or something. And it was just like a simple, like game making program where you don't have to code. You just kind of like click and drag these events, you know, and put them together. So I did a lot of those too, and that's when I started to make a lot of space games because like space games are easy to make.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're easier because like the backgrounds can just be stars.
Sure.
You don't have to worry about like the physics because it's just like a ship just in space, you know. Yeah.
Right. And in terms of level design, you just need to give people a place to go and things to shoot, and it'll generally be somewhat engaging. Yeah.
I think a blunder a lot of people make when they try to get into game design is like the first thing they try to make is a Mario type of game. Which is actually surprisingly difficult to make one that feels really good and like is fun, you know.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It's also just hard to code, like I said, and it's a pain. Yeah.
I think a lot of people forget, at least for a while they did. Maybe they've remembered now that Super Meat Boy and other games have come out that are almost completely reliant on how interesting the physics is. Like Mario without a run button is like one of the most monotonous things ever. It's like walk and jump. Like, oh my god, I'm still doing this. But the run adds so many variables and so much risk reward as to like if I'm going to get over that huge pit, I have to run towards it. But if I run towards it, it's harder to jump over. But if I don't run towards it, I won't have the momentum to get over it. So, like, how fast do I run? When do I start running? A lot of interesting stuff. You've given this stuff a lot of thought, it sounds like. Do you want to branch off into eventually making, like, a Halo-type game or a Mario-type game? Or
we have a lot of ideas. I think one thing I like about the Icarus Proudbottom thing we've built is, like, since we have like an Icarus Proudbottom typing game, an Icarus Proudbottom space game we're trying to kickstart, and then like the Icarus Proudbottom like action game, kind of establish that like Icarus Proudbottom can appear in any type of game whatsoever. Yeah. So there are a lot of games to like we'd love to make that are totally different from what we've made before. I haven't really thought much of an FPS.
No, but you did have an idea of like a Icarus Proudbottom kart game.
We'd love to make Icarus Proudbottom kart.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Really?
I think it's super fun.
Yeah, that'd be super fun.
I've always assumed that the challenges of making a platformer and a racing game are kind of similar in that it's a lot about physics and making the feel just right and that sort of thing.
To be honest, I've never tried to make a racing game, so I have no idea.
So anything's possible there. Huh.
I'll probably, at some point in the future, I'll probably like start to make it, and it'll feel horrible, and I'll give up.
Isn't that so hard? It is something, to me, you should feel 100% accomplished, that you have undoubtedly hit a lot of challenges in all of the games that you've tried to make, and yet you powered through them and found a way to stay inspired and to have fun even when it's painful or difficult, and make sure that it still happens.
Yeah.
But I think it is pretty special, and it ends up saying a lot about who you are as a person when you say, oh yeah, this is the kind of game I brought myself to actually finish. You know, nobody was paying me, and you know, there was no real accountability, but out of passion, still, we made this thing. It's representative of a lot of who you are, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and that's another, if anyone is like watching and wants to get into game design, that's another thing I recommend is just deadlines, like setting deadlines for yourself.
Yeah.
Because these Something Awful game competitions that last 30 days, like that's...
Yeah, it's a lot of motivation. It's very good.
And like, it's great to start a game and know that in 30 days it'll be finished.
Right.
It feels so good. Like, I remember when we first started making the typing game, like the first day we sat down to start the typing game, like I said, like, in 30 days, this game will be finished. Like, we'll have a game in 30 days. And it feels good, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, any kind of deadline, even if you make little deadlines for just like little things that you want to do, it just absolutely helps. At least me, it feels to feel motivated to just get it done.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It feels good to know that there's a specific date that'll be finished.
Yeah.
Which is kind of one of the problems with Starship Captain is like we have no deadline. We've been making it for so long.
Sure.
And, like I don't want to say the joy is gone, but like when it'll be finished, I don't know. And that's kind of like, it's kind of a bummer, like not having no clue when it'll be a finished product at this point.
Yeah, because especially since it looks like the Kickstarter will probably fail.
Oh, it's doomed.
Is it? Well, it's good to set your expectations low, of course.
It's fine though that it's doomed.
Yeah, no, it's fine because now we could sort of work on it on our own terms, and we'll probably just scale it down a bit, and you know, of course, it would get done a lot slower.
Yeah.
But at least, you know, the stress isn't there.
It's nice to know that your Kickstarter is doomed because when you first launch, like, you know, the first few days of the Kickstarter are always like the most energetic days, and at that point it looked like it was trending to like almost exactly hit our goal.
Yeah.
It looked like it was gonna like almost exactly hit the goal. But really, like, kind of the worst thing that can happen is you get exactly your minimum goal. Because I mean, you say your goal is this number, but of course, like, you don't want to hit exactly this number. This is like, it's like the minimum.
Sure, because there's Amazon or Kickstarter takes like 10%, and then taxes, and then so you don't end up with that number. You end up with like 75% of that number, or something along those lines.
You hear all sorts of horror stories. Like, I'm still not sure because like
because you hear like people's credit cards not going through like after they pledged and that kind of thing, and then you just don't get it.
Yeah, backers just backing out basically, or it doesn't go through, and then nobody follows up. Yeah, it's absolutely true. Why do you think? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say also, you know, we live in New York City, which is also like a stupidly expensive place to live.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, our goal is 50K, and then like 50K divided by 2, also minus, you know, whatever we lose. Minus, of course, the cost of doing the rewards, because we had all these rewards we're going to give.
We did factor in the rewards for sure, that we wouldn't lose money. But all the same, it would have been pretty tight. We would have had to move for sure, and I don't know.
Yeah.
We definitely were hoping either the Kickstarter would have gone like super successful or like not at all.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in a way, like, I'm glad it's. Well, I don't know, I'm not glad it's failing, but like. If I had to choose between like squeaking past the goal or just like not doing the goal, I'd kind of prefer actually not to do the goal because Kickstarter's free. That's an amazing thing about it. We can continue to build the game. We could relaunch it in the future.
Right. Yeah.
And like, I view Kickstarter too. Like, of course it's about money, but it's not really all about money. Like Kickstarter also is like you can use it to gauge the strength of an idea.
Yeah, you can gauge interest. And the thing is, would have been tight getting by on whatever we earned from that Kickstarter, but since the interest wasn't totally there, it sort of meant that we wouldn't get a lot of money after that, you know, after we made the game and sold it. So then that kind of occurred to us too, and we're like,
like it's obvious that the idea, well, at least the way we presented the idea, it's not strong enough to like have a crazy effect yet, you know. So I mean, like, so I almost, if the idea is not strong enough to get people super excited, I almost just want to just like rethink the idea, you know, just like spend more time until the idea is more fleshed out, you know. Because like I don't want to quit my job and like make a game full time that people aren't, you know, super excited about. You know?
Well, I'm just totally guessing about your finances, rudely and uninvited for no reason. But I'm guessing that you would have had, like, between the two of you, like 3 months or something of job quit to survive off of what you would have gotten with all.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe even not that. That would have been really rough. I'm scared. I'm right there with you. I would have loved for you to get 100,000, 200,000, so you could have dedicated a year to it or so. But you know, anything less than that sounds pretty terrifying. And why do you think it is that, because you know Icarus Proudbottom is something that people like, you know that you've created things people like, but for some reason this doesn't seem to have resonated in the way that causes that tipping point to happen, or all of a sudden everyone's talking about it and liking it for the sake of talking about it and liking it. From what I can tell with Kickstarters, people have told me that they, when they've had really successful Kickstarters with 200,000, 500,000, it's like people like it because everyone else likes it. They reach this like blockbuster point of explosion where people back it because they know everyone else is backing it, and then they're going to be able to be a part of this larger conversation about whatever game it is because they're all insiders who are part of the development team. And, you know, I feel like you could still potentially, like, you might do an update that just for some reason catches on like wildfire, and everyone's like, oh, in order to be a fun, interesting person, you have to back this. So it could happen, but it hasn't happened as of yet. So what do you think it is? Yeah, you never know. So what do you...
I feel that like a lot of people loved the other two games because they were crazy, they were quirky, they were easy to play, but like I don't know if sort of a Star Trek game really resonates with that kind of crowd. You know, it's sort of a different audience.
Sure.
And so our past audience might not have been a good fit for this game. I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't blame Kickstarter. I don't blame anyone. I think also a big problem is that like the way we pitched the game was, we didn't really show too much gameplay. We focused a lot on like the look and feel of the game and how like the mood of the game. And kind of foolishly, like I did a lot of the voice acting myself, and I think like I'm not a good voice actor. Like so, if I was going to take that approach, probably should have gotten better voice actors.
We did get two guys that we know do voice acting very well to help with a couple of the voices, which they did phenomenally. But the rest, I don't know. I thought yours were pretty good.
The guy who does Jerry's. We worked with a guy, he moved out of the city, but like we worked with a guy who does real voice acting, and he does the voice of Jerry.
Yeah,
he's unbelievable.
That voice, so good.
He's like a real voice actor. He does like audiobooks. His name's Cal Munley, and like, but he donated. We didn't pay him anything.
We gave him a little gift.
We gave him a gift. Yeah, I feel bad.
But he was super nice to help us out with this.
And he is like a beautiful like movie trailer booming voice, and like it was awesome. And then we have a friend who does like a lot of comedy and stuff, and he helped us with another voice. But the thing is like, we didn't really have the budget to hire voice acting.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to burden my comedian friend who did the voice for the Digby. No, he did the voice for Mark 22. Like, I wanted him to do the voice of Icarus, like the main character, but he's just like our friend, and we weren't paying him any money.
Sure.
So I kind of felt guilty, like, having him handle this big role, because Icarus is the main character, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I did Icarus out of guilt, basically, because, like, I didn't want to burden my friends with, like, the main role, you know, in our game.
Oh, so, absolutely. I can, not to go on too big of a tangent about voice acting, but having done a little bit of that, I can tell you that I would have loved to get professionals who dedicate their whole life to the cartoons. For the cartoons I did, I would have loved to get real voice actors, but I got the voice of Brock. It cost me a lot of money for like literally 30 seconds, and he did a great job. But it was Eric Stewart. He lives in New York, actually. He's got a band.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, you should check him out. Yeah, Eric Stewart band. Check him out. Yeah, he was like, he just wanted money to buy amps or something. So he's like, yeah, I'll do 30 seconds if you give me blank amount of money. It was
That's awesome.
no small amount. Yeah, he was very nice. But other than that, it's like you have to make sure that they're going to do it. You have to make sure that they actually want to do it. You have to make sure that they're going to do it on time. God forbid they do something bad, and then you're like, can you redo that? And then they're like, for what money? And then you're like, I'll just do this myself. So that's why I ended up doing most of the voices for Teenage Pokemon myself. But I'm wondering, I hope you don't let go of the idea because your passion die for it. Sounds like you're not going to let go of it. Well, I wonder how it would be, what if you got real, let's do the exact opposite of what you're saying and get like full motion video actors. How awesome would that be on a set and stuff?
That would be cool.
That'd be, well, like one of the, we have like a trillion ideas, and like one of our trillion ideas would be to make like a Icarus Proudbottom Starship Captain TV show of some sort, or like film it or something.
Yeah.
So that'd be awesome. But in New York City, like the space is such an issue. I have no idea how we do that at the moment.
Huh. Well, we should talk after the show. If you ever, I know a lot of video making men.
Yeah.
And people who can make a little animatronic owl. You're like, here we go. You know, put them on the set because you wouldn't need a whole Star Trek. One of the wonderful things about it. One of the reasons it existed at all, from what I'm told, is they needed that set. They needed the, the command center. They needed some rocks sometimes, and like a leathery reptile hand and face, and then like sequence.
Right.
And then you got an episode there. So yeah.
Yeah, they did nothing.
On a budget.
Yeah, I'd love to make a Icarus Proudbottom Starship Captain TV show where it's like kind of like Mystery Science Theater level of production. Which means bad. And like Icarus will be like a real actor, but then like everyone else will be like puppets. Mystery Science Theater like Crow and
That would be
Thomas Turbo. That'd be awesome.
Weird side story. I don't know if you're familiar with the show Mad Men.
Oh yeah.
There's an actress on there. Christina Hendricks is an actress on that show. And she's married to a guy whose name escapes me, who's tall and has giant eyeballs and is in comedy. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's in Super Troopers and a couple of other things.
I've seen that, so like...
Yeah, he was a high man in the backseat of a car.
Okay.
Yeah, he's very memorable. He's in a lot of movies. He's in The Ringer with John Knoxville.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because... the first scene where they're high in the car.
Oh, yeah,
the guy in the back is like, freaking out.
Right, something about him that's very memorable. He's married to Christina Hendricks. And a friend of mine who we did E3 videos together 2 years ago knows them, and they make puppets here in Massachusetts every once in a while. They just get together and make Muppets.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, me neither. But my point is, small world, people making Muppets all the time.
Yeah.
Christina Hendricks, for example, who knows? Maybe she'll end up making the Jerry.
Okay. We'll reach out to Christina Hendricks after this.
Yeah. I'll see if I can get through to her. I just realized we're only like 20 minutes left until the show is over. And I didn't ask any questions yet. Let's see if any questions came in. We're trying to do them through Twitter. People are tweeting at me about all sorts of other things.
Anything except Kahlua.
Yeah, no, they're doing something. The creator of Dive Kick is talking to me about E3. He's a great guy, Adam Hart. He's been on this show. You guys played Dive Kick? I wonder if you'd like it.
No, I haven't. I want to.
Sounds familiar.
No,
I have a strong sense you would like it because it combines design fundamentals that you guys like with comedy. And I did want to ask before we get going did you feel intimidation at all about having comedy be one of the pillars that's held up all of your games? Because when comedy goes over bad, like a drama goes over bad, people are like, yeah, it wasn't that good. Comedy goes over bad, and people are like angry. I like how they are towards Flash. Like comedy and Flash inspire all this anger, and you put the two together and somehow survived. So did you feel any risk around that?
Not so much.
Yeah, not so much, because especially the first two Icarus Proudbottom games, we just sort of made them for those competitions. So we just had the idea, and Dan's always making jokes, and we wanted to do something with comedy. But there definitely is that risk there, because you definitely got people who say, like, oh, this joke sucks, this joke is stupid, it doesn't make any sense, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think it helps too to like both these games have a really specific theme. Like the first game, like with the pooping, like the guys flying through the air and pooping, and there's so many obvious jokes you can make with that. It's like it's easy, you know.
Yeah.
Then the second game is all about typing, and it's like, so there's so many jokes to make about just like, I guess there's not many. It doesn't sound like it, but yeah, but you know, you have like this. If you have this like specific theme, it's easier to write jokes around it, I think.
Right.
Whereas like, I think like when comedy doesn't work in games is when it's just trying to be funny just to be funny and it doesn't really fit so much.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't want to like out any games which are not funny. But you know, yeah, Borderlands. It's a good game.
Uh-huh.
But like I remember like the robot. I didn't find anything he said funny.
Borderlands 1 or 2?
I think it was 2 or something.
Okay.
I forget.
Sure.
But it's just because they're injecting jokes into a first-person shooter,
Huh.
and they're just like jokes about anything, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas these are jokes about typing and jokes about like typing stuff in a typing game, you know.
Well, it's absolutely true that a lot of people. Anthony Birch actually wrote Borderlands, most of it. He's my old pal. He used to work for Destructoid.
Oh
actually.
no.
We made a lot.
I just insulted your friend.
Not at all. And Anthony, as I know him, he feels really badly, like guilty when people don't, when people are annoyed with stuff he wrote. Like he's like, I'm really sorry. I'll do better next time. But he is keenly aware that it was make or break with that game, and it was his first game his first big game. And there's reviews saying like it's the worst game ever because it's so funny. Then there's other ones saying like it's great because it feels like I'm hanging out with Anthony Birch and I think he's really funny. It was a huge risk for him, and it is very scary. And you're absolutely right. He would have been better off if the game was about, I don't know, if it was like a stand-up comedy game and you just got to write jokes and, you know, you be the funny one. Instead, it's like you're being told jokes while you're playing a game, and it can be a little bit off-putting for some people.
I just think it's really difficult to insert humor in a lot of games successfully. Like, I think, like, Portal is the most amazing thing ever, especially like Portal 2, because, like, they insert jokes so effortlessly, and, like, everything is amazing.
It just fits so
Everything
well.
is so funny.
Yeah.
It's, like, great. And, like, the concept shouldn't be fun. The concept's not funny. It's just portals. You walk in one hole, you come out of another hole. But just, like, somehow they got it so right. I don't know how. Did the Borderlands guy did he write the lines for the Poker Night game, too?
I don't think he did that one. I don't know if he did it. I'll have to ask him.
Claptrap was in Poker Night.
Yeah, because Claptrap and Poker Night, I think, is awesome.
Huh. Maybe he did.
Yeah.
Maybe he did write it then. Let's hang on to that. Someone did ask a question. The question came from Sean G, who is at Ceangi75. That's CEANGI75. Do you want to follow him on Twitter afterwards? He says, will any of your studio's IP be available on Android? And that is a question that must come up quite a bit. People are going to want you to port things to other things all the time. Anything with a keyboard, I'd imagine people were hoping you would pay Icarus Proudbottom on that. So is that possible?
The typing game, I don't think the typing game would work on any sort of mobile platforms.
Yeah,
because
I don't think so either. It would be hard. I mean, maybe if we made something specific for mobile phones. I mean, that could be fun. Like a typing game made for mobile phones where it's kind of hard and it's like on a tiny little device. But otherwise, like, I don't know. I hate typing on my phone. I don't know.
Well, Starship Captain, we're going to build it in Unity.
Oh, cool.
That would actually be incredible on tablets, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're definitely going to do iPad, and I think we could do Android. It would probably be limited, because if we did Android, it'd probably be like only the Nexus 7, Nexus 10, maybe some of the major tablets. Because Android is notoriously difficult to develop for, because there's so many platforms.
Sure.
I mean, there's so many like hardware devices.
Yeah.
But I think we could definitely do like the major tablets, especially if we do it in Unity, because Unity is like perfect for moving it to like all the different platforms. Yeah.
Is it hard to make a typing game in Unity? I've never thought I would ask that in my life.
It's a good question. I have no idea, because we built it in Flash.
Sure. From what you know of Unity, do you imagine it being difficult? Because I could see you would have a corner on that market and Unity, as you know, is compatible with everything other than 3DS, I think. So you could put that on PS4, Wii U, Xbox One, Steam, and I know so many people who use the people that do have a Wii U. It's more than you might think. It's actually I think sold better than the PS4 and Xbox One total because they had a year start.
Yeah.
Tons of people use that to type. They plug their keyboard in and they type off the gamepad. I know a lot of people that type on the PS4 all the time. They exclusively browse the internet with the USB keyboard. So the keyboards are out there and the audience is potentially out there.
Yeah. I wouldn't port it to Unity until like if we made another type of game from scratch. If we had like a brand new game.
Sure.
Then I wouldn't want to make that in Flash because we made enough Flash games. We need to like get out of Flash. But yeah, I don't think it'd be too difficult actually. My main concern, which is the same concern I have with Flash, would be international compatibility.
Yeah, we had a lot of problems with that with the typing games.
Yeah.
Any sort of punctuation gets really troublesome with international keyboards. We had a lot of people complaining about that. We tried a few ways of fixing that, but it's still an issue.
Sure.
It's funny, when we made the typing game, we were saying like, I hope like there's no international issues, and then like we woke up the next morning, there was an article about it. Yeah. I remember like the first comment on the first article was like, I live in Switzerland and I see they don't care about us or something.
It's like, we had no idea. And also no way of testing unless we got like a Swedish friend or a friend from every country that has a different sort of keyboard.
Yeah.
Well, that's you suffering again. I can't help but laugh about it because they relate so much. People in their minds see you as like a multi-million-dollar conglomerate who it's not about like how much you have for time or money. It's about how much you care. And like they were lazy. They didn't care about the Swedish because like their competition they entered for something awful for them wasn't perfect for all countries yet. Taking it personally. Yeah.
Well, people. I think first of all, the name Hollywood Studios. One problem with that is people don't realize that it's just two people.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like it makes us sound more than we are. It's just two people in an apartment.
Yeah, this is where we make the games here.
And secondly, I don't think people realize that we had to make the game in 30 days. Like, I don't think people know that. And it was, like every second of that month, every spare second we spent on it. So it's not like, that's all we could do. That's all that was physically possible in 30 days.
Yeah, it's in general something I hope changes. The main reason I would ever want this show to get really popular, like we've got the Kickstarter funding, and thank you again everybody who backed us. I'm going to do another round of audio.
Hey, congratulations.
No, thanks.
Hey,
it's both a relief and a new stress because now it's like, you paid for this? This has to be really good now somehow. Oh, how am I going to do that? And I'm doing the backer rewards. I'm promising everybody that after every episode I'm going to do 10 more. One of the backer rewards is me saying whatever you want for like 30 seconds. So I've got to read the Jabberwocky. I've got to like sing a song. Yeah, it is. I said some terrible things about bodily fluids last week. Finished that up. So there's a lot of things that I have to do. But I guess my point is, if I ever wanted this, the reason the show still exists, really, is that I'm hoping that people will find out that the video games come from human beings, and that's what matters. It's not so much the mascots that you use or the publisher or all these other things. People think, oh, every Mario game is great. No, every Mario game made by that developer might be great because it's the developer that made it great, not the mascot, not the publisher.
Yeah.
All that stuff. And it's you guys that make... And it's only the two of you. Jeez Louise.
We need a publicity guy is what we need, or girl.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, because we suck at publicity. We're horrible. Well, this Kickstarter too, like we emailed lots of sites, and we have contacts at lots of these sites too because they've covered our previous games.
Yeah.
So we emailed them. Like half of them wrote about it, and then we emailed them again. And it's like, well, I'm out of ideas.
I even tried to contact some old Star Trek sites that I used to visit, which was super fun. But we didn't really get much out of that.
I feel like before we launched Kickstarter, I was kind of optimistic about it because I felt like if we reached the audience of our fans, the people who like the previous games, and then this whole new audience of these Star Trek people who might see our game as like a potential a really interesting Star Trek parody game. I thought like actually we'd hit enough audiences to meet the goal.
Sure.
And I think that was actually one of our biggest problems. Is I don't think we successfully reached the Star Trek fan base at all.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a part of a few Star Trek forums, and I post it there, but, you know, I don't only reach so many people.
There's that game Red Shirt did pretty well, if I'm remembering correctly. They really are. But they were such a direct, like, my understanding of reaching these particular fandoms, like, if you wanted to get the Doctor Who fandom excited, you've got to do Doctor Who. If you do, like, Doctor One, they'll be like, no, not close enough. It's got to be like that exact. It's a very specific feeling. And, of course, you have the splinter of the different Star Trek fans. You have the people.
That's true.
Yeah. And sounds like it was really the old school Kirk Star Trek fans that you were shooting for, and so many of them have been kind of replaced by the J.J. Abrams movie fans.
Don't get her started about J.J. Abrams.
I'd love to get you started about J.J. Abrams.
She could talk for the remaining time about just that.
Yeah, no, seriously. I could talk to you like for 2 weeks straight about anything about Star Trek, but really, I think they're a huge disappointment. They really don't capture the feel of like the old shows, like any of the old shows, which is really a shame. It's just all action, and I totally get it. It's a marketing thing. It's absolutely a marketing thing.
She started anyway.
but it's just disappointing. It's like they're selling out, and the real big thing is that like I have friends that don't like Star Trek, but they've seen the new movies, and they're like, oh, I love the new movies, the new J.J. Abrams movies, but I hate the old Star Trek. Ooh, it's so boring, and like my heart just breaks. Like,
to be fair to them, though, a lot of the old ones are really boring. You know it, the gangster episode.
Hey, the gangster episode.
The hippie episode.
Yeah, it happens. It's this strange new world we're in where, quote, nerd culture has been reappropriated and turned into something that's not just about marketing, but it's like very marketable. To say, oh, I saw the new Iron Man movie. Have you ever read an Iron Man comic? No, of course not. Those look boring, but the movies are so funny and catchy, and it's all over the place. It's interesting to have watched that, like Jackie, and probably like you too, Dan. When I played video games growing up, it was like, I don't know if anyone else in the world has ever played Final Fantasy. Like, I know one other guy. Like, I didn't see other people. It was sold in stores, so I assumed someone else bought it, but I'd never seen it. Now everyone knows everyone else is watching these things and are watching it sometimes for that sake.
I think part of the problem, too, is we never, with the Kickstarter and with Starship Captain, we never once used the phrase Star Trek. Even though it's clearly Star Trek inspired, and it's like a lot of it's a Star Trek parody. Yeah. I think mostly just because like we're concerned about lawsuits and just like intellectual property stuff.
I mean, it's really parody, but we never really wanted to.
It's clearly inspired by Star Trek, but we never said like, here's a Star Trek game. Because my nightmare is like we'd get Kickstarted successfully, and then like 2 months later we get an email being like, you can't do this. It's like this is clearly just like a Star Trek game.
Yeah, that happened with somebody came out and said, I am making the new Ghosts and Goblins game, and I will ask Capcom later. And then I think it got like a week into it. That actually happened, which was pretty surprising. Well, I don't know if any questions came in from YouTube. I don't want to be neglectful. Sinistar, are you there? And if so, any questions from YouTube?
Yeah, hey, why don't you open up the chat that where I put them?
Oh, there's some chat
in there.
I'm a little out of practice, Sinistar. And what happened to your voice? You sound so normal.
Beware!
It's a good voice.
Matt Parker wanted to know, what do you do for your day jobs?
We actually work at the same company, but in different divisions, so we don't bump into each other. But we work for a book publisher in New York City.
We're both like in publishing.
Yeah, we both do like sort of web kind of advertising jobs. Both of us.
Yeah, we don't actually do book stuff, but we work for book people. We both, I do mostly web design stuff.
Yeah, I do mostly ads and like video development.
So you've got to be creative all the time.
Yep.
At work.
But it is fun. I do love the work. But
it's apples and oranges, though. I mean, like the stuff we do at work is nothing like the game stuff we do here.
Yeah.
Well, I have made a few really small games for work, but not really. Yeah. There were like a few small websites we used to promote some books, and like Maybe I just made one actually for work.
I made some little ones like quizzes and stuff.
Yeah, I made two. I made two for work.
Yeah.
That's right.
Huh. Cool.
I made a game for Twilight, the book.
I forgot.
It was
about
Breaking Dawn. It was for the audiobook.
that. Yeah,
It was for like
that's right. I
the
forgot
website
about
for the audiobook for Breaking Dawn, the fourth Twilight book. And it was like this. It was just a goofy like quiz game, but still. Yeah.
What?
I don't know.
You made a quiz game about Breaking Dawn?
I guess so.
How tempted were you to just be facetious and be like, who's got the best abs and that sort of thing? Like,
It's fine. I mean, it's like it's cool to make a game for something that big. Because
oh,
like,
absolutely.
even like I've never read the books, but it's like a phenomenon. So whatever.
Sure. Did you write the questions and stuff, or did somebody else do the actual quiz questions?
No, the game was actually just this goofy thing where like I don't know, cat time. There's a cat.
I like cat time.
Yeah. It was just something. It was the game with like the ball under the shells, and you mix up the shells, and you guess which ball, which shell the ball's under.
Uh-huh.
It was something like that. Where just like these pieces rearrange and.
Huh. Did they have like Edward and Jacob and
Yeah.
the other guy on it?
It was like three pieces. It was like Edward, Jacob, and
Bella?
Bella. Yeah, Bella.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh, cool.
you.
Jackie looks a little bit. I saw Jackie from the true story. I saw Jackie from across the room at the New York thing, and I was like, "What's Bella doing here?"
Are you serious?
You're totally Bella. You're the new.
Oh.
I guess a compliment.
Yeah, you're a Jacob man, for sure. You got a Jacob Edward combo going. Yeah, good for you guys.
Until it looked like Martin Short.
Martin Short? You said?
Yeah.
Oh, heck no. No, cheekbones there. You're doing great. All right. Come on, a little more questions. Troy Edward wants to know favorite or most influential classic series. I assume he means video games.
Yeah.
Talked about Star Trek enough. Maybe not. I could talk about Star Trek some more. I also have strong feelings about J.J. Abrams.
But like
Anyway.
classic games, I don't know if
Yes.
Star Fox 64 classifies as classic.
Absolutely it does.
But that's probably like,
Yeah, it's
if
old
I
now.
had to pick my favorite game, it would be Star Fox 64. I freaking love that game. I could play it every single day. But
I feel the same. That game is amazing.
Yeah, no,
just
it's
like
great.
the voice acting is like so good. The gameplay is fun. It has these characters which are fun.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun. It hasn't. None of the games I like have influenced the games that we've made. Actually,
Sure.
like Super Metroid, I think was like. I called that my favorite game for a very long time.
Mm.
Like the Half-Life series, it was like one of my favorite games. I used to say.
Sure.
Lots of stuff.
I don't know. I would say that there's some. To me, there's some influence there. There's a mix of sci-fi and grounded in realism,
Also,
and atmospheric. I truly believe that Icarus Proudbottom teaches typing atmospheric. I feel like I'm in a slightly weird world where I'm a kid again.
although actually, the Super Metroid actually influenced that a little bit because Super Metroid begins with the little Metroid you meet at the beginning, and it's like a friendly Metroid.
Yeah.
But then at the very end, you see it. It's like a big, gigantic, evil Metroid. Well, it's still friendly. It's still
Yeah,
good.
no,
But you
it's
think
still
it's evil for a second.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. You're scared of it.
And that kind of came from Icarus Proudbottom. I mean, the type of gacha in
Yeah.
Icarus Proudbottom teacher typing was kind of based on that a little bit because it's like this cute little thing,
Yeah.
and then like it becomes this like giant monstrous thing. That.
Yeah. There's a lot of that lately. I don't know if you played Carol Blaster. It's the new game by the Cave Story guy.
I want to. 'Cause I love Cave Story. I haven't played that yet though.
Yeah,
It's good for people who are busy because you can basically see all of it in, I don't know, 4 hours or so. But then there's a whole new game plus with more stuff. But it also plays upon this like feeling of being comfortable and cozy with something, and then it grows into something gross and weird before you know it.
Did you just ruin Carol Blaster for me?
I don't think so.
Carol Blaster.
No, not quite. I definitely.
fine.
There's a lot to that game actually, more so than meets the eye. So I think you'll be okay.
That game is like that is like the indie story of that game. It's like
Sure.
yeah, it's like some Japanese businessman who just like made it in his spare time, and it's like incredible. It's so
It's
charming.
so
It's
good,
like it's great. And,
Yeah. Yeah, it was 5 years or something I worked on that. And Carol Blaster, he made about comic strips he used to draw about him and his girlfriend in college, which is adorable. He drew himself as a frog and his girlfriend as a cat. Almost time for the end of Rats. The show goes by so fast sometimes.
Yeah,
Troy Edwards has more questions, though. He wants to know, are you going to eat that? And when are you
what?
coming home? Can you pick up some Sprite and bitters? Who is this Troy Edwards character? He's out of control.
What kind of bitters does he want? There's several kinds of bitters.
Yeah. You assume ginger bitters. So people can still back your Kickstarter if they want, but only back it if they're going to get a lot of money, not just enough, because that would suck.
So if you want to back it, give us an insane amount of money, and otherwise just get a beer or
Sure,
a
write
nice
a comment.
t-shirt. Yeah.
And check out the video. I think it's a shame so many people check out Kickstarter at work when they're bored and feel like being philanthropic and buying something, but eBay is blocked from their work or whatever, but Kickstarter isn't. But they couldn't watch the video necessarily at work, so they couldn't see your lovely voice acting. So if they have a chance, they should. I thought the voice acting was very good. You can watch the video and get a load of Dan. Pretending to be other people. You did a great job.
She does a voice of Lucida
I
too.
did have like one line, but
Oh yeah?
otherwise pretty much mostly Dan.
A little bit, yeah.
You guys could just make a game about yourselves. You probably like it a lot too.
Just sitting in this chair.
Yeah. Well,
it would be fun to do some sort of choose your own adventure with this webcam.
oh yeah.
We walk around this apartment.
Yeah.
I have this strong feeling that FMV, because just as educational games, edutainment games, people had like hunger to see that taken and reappropriated and given to the modern audience who has that shared experience with it, but also are ready to laugh at themselves and laugh at them, but enjoy them again because it's a common language. I think FMV is like primed and ready for that. We're in the post PlayStation 1 generation now. People grew up on PlayStation 1, not so much NES. A lot of people in their 20s who remember the beginning to Resident Evil being totally ridiculous, with a guy with a taped-on beard looking in the camera angrily and a fake dog chewing on a hand. They're ready for FMV. I wonder if you guys will do something like that. That'd be fun.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I feel like too, like the current culture, like people would eat up an FMV game which is purposely kind of like campy and corny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which you guys have some natural ability. Yeah.
We were playing one of the Star Wars first-person shooter games. I think it was like Jedi Knight or something. Had these like horrible FMV scenes, and at the time, like the FMV was so embarrassing, and I hated it. But now, like that's like the best part of that game is watching those corny as hell FMV scenes.
Yeah, there's a certain innocence to them that's unmistakable, and you guys
it's cute.
also, absolutely something you also share, I think. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm dragging the show on for too long. So they can follow you at Holy Wow Studios on Twitter.
Yeah, right. That's what it is.
Yep, that's what it is.
Are there other places they can see things you're doing? They can go to the Kickstarter, Icarus Proudbottom Starship Captain.
Yeah.
Any
Also,
other places or things? Huh?
We have a Facebook page. We have holywowstudios.com. Whatever people are most happy with.
Just Google Holy Wow Studios and just click everything you see, and you'll find us there.
Very good. I do hope your things come to Steam, come to something one of these days.
Yeah, we have lots of plans. The Kickstarter is probably not going to work, as we've discussed, but we have like lots of other plans. So like things are going to happen. It's not like the Kickstarter is going to fail and we're going to be like, oh, that's it. Time to watch some Netflix. Play more Dark Souls. Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, they'll probably announce a new one in E3 in a couple of days too. People are guessing it's going to be Demon Souls too. We'll see in a second. As for me, I'm at Trodnauts on Twitter. The show is youtube.com/SupHolmesShow. I think it's slash. I never know which one's the backslash and the regular slash. Whatever's most often used in URLs. We're on Libsyn. We're on iTunes. You can Google us. SupHolmes.net is a website that's in production. Should be done soonish, where you can watch reruns of the show, that sort of thing. But they're all going to be on the YouTube and the iTunes as well. So I think that's about it. I think I recapped all of that, hopefully. How are you guys feeling? How do you feel?
It's good. Yeah, this is fun. There's lots of fun.
You guys are a lot of fun.
This is the first time I've done like a webcam thing.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Conrad, and I was saying like it's really strange to talk to the computer and have the computer talk back. I've never had that experience before.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, you did great. Well, it's great talking with you guys, and thanks for watching, everybody.
Oh. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah.
I'm sure there's someone better you could have gotten, so thanks for choosing us.
It's my pleasure. It's great talking with you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.